Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. I hope that you are all familiar with the Sew It All television show. Excellent, thank you. So then you know that the whole idea behind Sew It All is that we present projects that are quick and easy, that anybody can do in an afternoon. So it's the instant gratification, factor that everybody loves. And we have great guests on the show to present these projects. And we've had Sandra Betsina, we've had Sue Hausman, we've had fabric designers, pattern designers, we've had Project Runway alums. So, we thought, let's go to the blogging community, to these sewing, crafting, quilting blogs, and see if we can find some great new talent to showcase on Sew It All. So that is what today is all about. And since we have a limited time, I'm going to introduce our first blogger. Oh, and let me just tell you a quick rundown of how it's going to go. Each person's going to come out and do just a 5-minute portion of the episode that they proposed when they tried out to be here today. So you might just get a little section of the overall project rather than seeing it from start to finish. So they're going to have 5 minutes. They will be cut off after 5 minutes. That's why I have my phone here. We're going to time it. And then all of you will vote on your favorite. And we're having a little wrap party at 2:15. We need a little time, when this ends, before that begins, to tally up all of your votes. And then we will be over here in the back of this building here with candy, t-shirts, giveaways, and we'll let you know the top 2 contestants. And then those videos that our lovely video man Brian over here is taking, those videos will go to our website on the top 2 people for worldwide online voting until March 15th. And then the final winner will win a trip to Colorado to come and tape their episode. And this table that we are presenting on, this lovely Arrow Sewing Cabinets table, we will be giving this away to one of you in the audience today. And you need to come over to our little party at 2:15 and fill out your ballot form. You don't need to be present to win, but you do need to go over there and fill something out. And then you could be taking this home. Now don't worry, we don't need to box it up and send it with you in a backpack. We'll be shipping it straight to your door. So, yay, very exciting. Okay, so let's get started. Our first blogger is Stephanie Chan. Come on out. Stephanie, yes? Stephanie's blog is sillypearl.com. She is from Walnut Creek, California. She enjoys crafting, thrifting, cooking, gardening, and cuddling with her twin 5-year-old girls. So she manages to do all of that with twins, 5 years old, crazy. Okay. Her DIY wedding rekindled her crafty nature, and she's been creating ever since. So Stephanie is going to do a portion of this really cute clock pillow for us. Let's do it. Okay. Action.
So today I'm going to show you how to assemble the parts of this clock pillow. It has some clock hands and the numbers and the whole face, and then we'll just quickly go over how to do it.
Here, I'll hold this for you.
Oh,
so
thank you. Thank you.
Do what you need to do.
So I have everything on these boards. We're going to start with the clock hands, which need to have some stiffness to it. So I just fuse some fusible webbing in between to make a 2-sided stiff piece of fabric. And then I've traced the clock hands on here, which are a little bit enlarged so you can see. And after you cut them out, you'll have 2 arrows, a long hand and a short hand. And then just to give the arrows some stiffness, I've done some top stitching, and then I'm going to be spraying it with some fabric stiffener. That's why we're working on the clock hands first, so you can let that dry. And then I'm also going to be adding some buttonholes because that's how the clock rotates around the shank of the button. And I usually use a cover button because they usually come with a shank and they're pretty, so you can make them pretty, and that's how they rotate. So while these are drying, you can work on your numbers. So I've just printed this out on Microsoft Word, this little template, and you just trace it on in a mirror image and cut it out. So you have your fabric numbers facing the right way, hopefully, if you did it right.
So you could choose any font that you want.
Oh yeah, just stick to something a little bit simple because you have to fit a lot of numbers on there. And so next you're going to cut out the clock face, and you'll have some webbing on the back too. And then you'll mark the center with the fabric pen. And that'll help you line up all the numbers, which you'll be putting on next. And I always start with the 4, because then you can just add the 2 numbers in between. So what you do is you just peel off the back of your numbers, and you just stick it on. Then when you're happy with the placement and everything's in the right order, because I have done it wrong before. Been crafting late at night while the girls are sleeping. And when you're happy, you'll get this, and then you'll just fuse it on to your fabric front panel next, which is this. And you'll just center it on. You have your center mark on here and then on here as well. Just center those on, and then you'll fuse that. And then you'll get to here. The next thing you'll do is sew this stitching on the edge. I usually do a satin stitch, the widest set, on my sewing machine, and then I'll use a tearaway stabilizer underneath just to keep things nice and flat. And you'll get to this last step here, and you'll finally have your clock hands that you sprayed in the beginning with the fabric stiffener. They'll be all dry, and you just hand stitch it to the front, just like that. So that's it for the clock face. And then you will, you can just go on with the rest of the project, just doing a pillow like you normally would. I would make the turning hole a little bit bigger, because you don't want to scrunch this through a smaller hole, and it'll just slide through nicely, and then you just slip stitch the bottom. And some options that we have are some personalization. I have my friend's daughter's name on this, and you can choose different prints for boys, or both boys and girls like this one. This one's really girly. My girls will really like this one. And this one I would also, I could also use a trim right here instead of using this satin stitch if you prefer. So this is just a fun way to teach your kids how to tell time with a cuddly, not intimidating clock pillow, and that they can cuddle with too. And that's it.
Very good. Got through the whole demo. I mean, now you can make a 5-minute pillow, right? Just 5 minutes. So next up we have Rhonda Buss. She will be coming out here. She's got a dress form and stuff. Rhonda's blog is called Rhonda's Creative Life, and the URL is rhondabus.blogspot.com. And we'll have all of this information on our website too. If you want to check out sewitalltv.com, you can learn about everybody too. Rhonda is from Chicago, Illinois. She is a pilot, a writer, an artist, a quilter, a fashion designer, and a dog lover. She blogs about fashion and creates interesting garments and accessories weekly. So she's going to be doing a travel dress for us today. All right, ready?
Ready,
okay. Set. And action.
I am guilty of overpacking always. So I decided to create the perfect travel dress. This garment transforms itself from a dress, pull up the sides, and it can be worn as a tunic with tights. Keep pulling it up, and it becomes a blouse that can be worn with pants or a skirt. The shoulders are also adjustable, so depending on your mood, you can wear them long or short, or how hot or cold it happens to be in the room. The dress is also quite easy to draft, as it's just 5 rectangles. There are 2 rectangles for the skirt, 2 rectangles for the bodice, and 1 rectangle for the collar. The key to this garment, though, is the drawstring that allows it to be transformed. So today I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a matching drawstring for this garment. For this garment, we would sew a 5/8" seam allowance and turn it back and stitch it down, and that becomes our casing. So it's very easy to do the casing. For the drawstring, if you have a 5/8" seam allowance, you would cut your strips 1 1/4 inches wide by the length of your casing, make sure of that, and then sew it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is very important, that you don't clip the seam allowance, because when we turn the drawstring, the seam allowance will be inside the casing and keep the drawstring from being too flimsy. The key to easily turning the drawstring is this wonderful little tool called a bodkin. It has a large eye at one end and a ball tip at the other. The one that I'm using today is 6 inches long, but they come in various lengths and sizes. You can get them at any fabric store. So with your drawstring already sewn with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, simply stick the bodkin into the drawstring, take your needle and thread, sew a couple of stitches, make sure that you tie a knot. Obviously, I've learned the hard way. Clip your thread. Slide the bodkin to the open end of the drawstring. And slip it through. At this point, you do not want to clip the bodkin away from the drawstring. Instead, you'll take the bodkin, the ball end again, and slip it into the casing that's on your garment. Try to slip it in. Push it through. And you're all done. For this garment requires 8 drawstrings, 2 for each shoulder and 2 for each side of the skirt, so you would create 8 of these. Once they have all been thread through the seam casings, then you'd finish sewing the garment, and once the garment is finished, you would then tie a knot at the end. I can show you here, you tie a knot at the end so that it's even with the end of the garment. Of course, there'll be a little bit left over. Just clip, whoop, they're not open. Clip off the end of the excess, put a couple drops of fray check on the end of your knot just to hold it in place, and you're finished. So if you're packing for a trip, my thought is to create 2 of these garments, one in a solid color, one in a print that coordinates with your solid color, and add a pair of pants, a skirt, a few pair of tights, and you can pack a carry-on bag, and you're set with numerous garments for days on end. Thank you.
Next, we have Caroline Hulse. Her blog is SewCaroline.com. She is from Fort Worth, Texas. She blogs about her life as a newlywed and DIY enthusiast. She loves inspiring others to live a creative life and encouraging people to learn to sew. Her project is this Chevron ombre tote. Super cute. And action.
Hi everyone, my name is Caroline and I blog at SewCaroline.com. On my blog, you can find an array of DIY projects, handmade fashion, recipes, just everyday stuff. For my do-it-yourself projects, I love to use current trends as my inspiration, trends like Chevron. So today, I'm gonna get to show you guys how to make this really cute Chevron bag. So what you're gonna need are just basic sewing supplies, such as your scissors, your rotary cutter and mat, pins, your sewing machine, thread, etc. And then you'll need 4 different colors of fabric and a base color fabric. So, and you'll also need a ruler and a pencil. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start with your base color fabric here. I chose gray, and you're gonna cut 28 3-inch squares. So once you have all those cut out, you'll set them aside, and then you'll take each of the 4 colors that you chose, and you're gonna cut 7 3-inch squares of those as well, and you'll set those aside. So once you have all of your squares cut, you'll take the stack of all of your gray ones, and you're gonna use your ruler and just a regular pencil, and you're gonna draw a line from one point to the other, just like that. So it'll look like this. And you're gonna do that for every single one of your gray squares. It's a lot of penciling, but it's worth it. So once you get all of your squares drawn on, you will match each of the base color square with a colored fabric, and you're gonna put them right sides together, and then you'll pin, just like that, on both sides. And then you're gonna head to your sewing machine once all of your squares are matched up with another one. So what you're gonna do on your sewing machine is you will, using your pencil line as a guide, I blew this one up a little bit so you can see it better, you'll sew a stitch 1/4 inch away from the pencil line on either side of the pencil line. And on here you can see I did it in a dark thread so you can kind of see it better here. So you're gonna have 2 stitch lines plus your pencil mark down the middle. So once you have all of your squares sewn together, you're gonna take your scissors or your rotary cutter and mat, and you're just gonna cut down the line that you drew. So once you have all of them cut out, you'll then have a bunch of squares that look like this. They're half the base color and half the colored fabric. So once all your squares are cut and you have a bunch of them laying around, you're going to press them, and you're going to press the seam towards the colored fabric. So they'll all look like this. These are more to size. So you'll separate them by color, and you'll start with your first color here, and you'll get on your design board or your just your sewing table, and you're going to lay out the entire front of your bag into a chevron shape. So the way that you move the squares determines the pattern of the chevron, and so you'll lay it out how you like it, and then you'll start sewing again. What you're going to do is you're going to start with the top row here in the first 2, and you're going to put these 2 right sides together like this. You'll go ahead and pin it just to be safe, and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch line right there. So once you take it off and you can press it, you'll start the chevron shape pattern. So you'll do those 2, and then you'll add this one, and then you'll add this one, and so on and so forth till the first row is completely sewn together. You're going to sew all of the rows all the way down the bag, and then you're going to start sewing row by row together, sort of like this. So you'll take each row and put it with the one below it and sew down it. Then you'll press it all out, and then you'll have the front of the bag created. Now, if I had more time, I'd show you how to make the rest of the tote, but that's basically it. And then I like to use fusible interfacing to give it some more stability, and on this one I added another row of chevron on the back. So that's it.
Next up, we have Beth Chandler. Her blog is elizabethchandlerdesigns.com. She is from Greenville, South Carolina. She specializes in teaching sewing to beginners. She enjoys embracing creative arts of all kinds, especially upcycling everyday items into unique and fashionable garments. And her project is a tablecloth with weights on it. Super cool. Or weights in it, I guess we'll find out. And she made this little picnic table to show you. Awesome.
Today I'm going to show you how to make a windproof tablecloth. This tablecloth is great for beginners, but also a lot of fun for the advanced seamstress. It's going to be a reversible tablecloth. On one side you have big pockets. Now these pockets aren't just a cute design feature, they're also where you're going to put rocks or tablecloth weights to keep your tablecloth from flying away in the wind. On the other side, your fabric is your cute feature. Now I'm going to be using a scaled down version for demo purposes, but if you were going to make this at home, you're going to need 2.5 yards of 2 coordinating fabrics, and the dimensions are 90 inches by 52 inches, so you want to make sure that you buy 54-inch wide home decor fabric. You also need 1 yard of quilting cotton, 1/2 yard of lightweight fusible interfacing for your pockets, 8 yards of double fold bias tape, and of course, you need rocks. The first thing you're going to do after cutting your fabric is to make your pockets. Now, these pockets are going to be 15 by 15 by 20 inches long. The easiest thing to do is to measure a 15-inch square and draw a line diagonally connecting 2 points, and that will give you 2 triangles. Now you need 8 triangles total and 4 interfacing triangles. After cutting your triangles, you need to iron your interfacing onto 4 of your fabric triangles. And then you're going to sew right sides together. Your interfacing and your fabric triangle together. Then I want you to flip it right side out so that your fabric's on both sides and your interfacing is in the middle. Press along the seam and stitch 1/4 inch from the top on your 20-inch side. Next, you're going to baste your triangles or your pockets to each of the 4 corners. Now you want to make sure that you baste on your 2 15-inch sides. Leave your 20-inch side open because that will be for your rocks. After basting your pockets, you're going to pin the other tablecloth fabric, and you're going to do wrong sides together. Now I use safety pins to pin it together, but you can also use quilt basting spray. After you pin, I want you to tack it down in a couple of places, and I just use a small zigzag stitch back and forth in a few places. After that, you are ready to finish your fabric with your quilt basting, with your bias tape, I'm sorry. And you can make your own, or you can buy some if you prefer. And I know that there are a lot of quilters out there, so this is a great project. If you know someone who's interested in quilting, you use the same similar principles to quilting, and it gets somebody used to using the big amount of fabric.
So these little tacking stitches, that's going to stay in the project, so it's a little decorative thing too.
It is. It's a little decorative. Now, I'm from the South, and we love our picnics. So all you need are some fried chicken, sweet potatoes, coleslaw, and green beans. Send your kids off to find some rocks for your pockets, and you have the perfect windproof tablecloth.
Very cute.
8 seconds left. All right, good.
Our final contestant is actually a team of bloggers, and they have the same name. So it's Elizabeth and Elizabeth, or Liz, Evans, and they have the same name because they married brothers. Their blog is simplesimonandco.com. They are from Utah. They have a lot more in common than their names, actually. They're both former school teachers, and they both have 3 children. They also both love sewing. So, and they both, they dress alike. You guys could be twins with the same name. So their project is a bubble skirt for a little girl, very cute.
Hi everyone, I am Elizabeth Evans, and this is my sister-in-law who is also Elizabeth Evans. We are 2 girls who married brothers and ended up with the exact same name.
Like Ellen said, we do have lots of things that are in common. Aside from sharing a name, we are the same age. We are both former school teachers. We both have the same number of children, drive the same minivans, live within 5 minutes of each other, and wear the same clothes, but not on purpose.
That one was not quite planned.
Was not planned. We saw each other this morning. Anyways, we also share a love for sewing.
Today we're going to be making one of our very favorite things to make, which is skirts for our little girls. And we like to make skirts because they're an easy afternoon project, and it's actually something that our girls will wear, so that's why we love them.
All right, so today we're going to share with you one of our favorite bubble skirts that we make. On our website, we have all of the math and the measurements, but if you're like us, we're not good with math and we wouldn't remember after we left the class. So you can go to our website for the measurements. Today we're just going to show you basically how to do a bubble hem. If you're going to make a bubble skirt and have a bubble hem, you'll need to have a lining, and you're going to need to have a top fabric. Now, all you need to know today is that roughly your top fabric, it's going to be really long. It's going to be about double or triple what your lining fabric's going to be, and it's also going to be 3 or 4 inches longer as well. Once you have your measurements and you have your fabric cut, the next thing you're going to do is just sew quickly right sides together to make a tube like this out of both your top and your lining.
After you have your skirt tubes, now we're going to start making the bubble hem. So what you need to do is find your main fabric, and we need to put some gathering stitches in the bottom. We are using a polka dot fabric today, so it doesn't matter. But if you have a fabric that's directional, just make sure that your gathering stitches are going in the bottom of the print. So what you'll do is take your main fabric and run your rows of running stitches and then pull them to gather the main fabric skirt to the lining, the inside lining skirt. And after you've done that and have it really well pinned, you're just going to take it to your machine and sew your bottom hem so that it will be gathered up. And then from here, the magic happens and our bubble hem appears. You're just going to flip your main skirt right side out, and then you're going to flip your lining to the inside. And because your lining is shorter and gathered, this is what's going to create that cute bubble hem that you see on the skirt.
After this, you need to decide what kind of a waistband you would like, and that will depend on the age of your girl and the style that you're going for. For younger girls, you could do an elastic casing and do an elastic waistband, or you could do an exposed waistband. For our girl today, we did a fitted waistband with a button closure, or for older girls or teenagers, you can do an elastic on the side and a fitted waistband as well.
And then our very last step is we need to attach our waistband onto our skirt that's already our bubble hem. And so we're going to do the exact same thing that we've done with our bubble hem, which is run gathering stitches onto our lining fabric as well as our outer main fabric, and then gather those up to fit our waistband. We've written the tutorial for a beginning sewer, so if you're doing a waistband, we just like to sew it right sides together. So you're going to put your waistband on the outside and then sew it all the way around. If you're doing a more advanced skirt or you want your seams all the way encased like they are on the bottom of the bubble because we've sewn everything on the inside, you could do your waistband more like you would bias tape and then sew on the outside of your skirt, so you would have a fully professional finished skirt with no seams. And And then you're just going to flip your waistband right side out, put in your buttonhole and your button, and your skirt's ready to go.
We love this hem, and we've used it on quite a few things. We've made skirts for our girls with the bubble hem. We've also done tunics for some older girls, some longer tunics with a bubble hem. And then another thing that is really fun is to attach it to a bodice and make a dress out of it with the bubble hem along the bottom.
Very nice.
Thank you so much.
Letting us come.
Perfect timing.